Welcome to Smash or Pass Gran Turismo Edition, the mini-series where we review high-end cars in Gran Turismo 7 to arrive at the ultimate recommendation of Smash or Pass. I'm your host, GT Jesse, and I'm a data scientist by day and sim racing enthusiast by night. I developed a scoring algorithm to provide you, sim racers, an unbiased opinion on whether you should smash this car and spend your hard-earned credits, or pass on this one and save them for next time. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please do hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below what car you want to see reviewed in the next installment of Smash or Pass. Ooh-wee! Listen to the sound of that 7-liter, 750 horsepower V8. Now, this is a really cool car, and it's actually a really interesting story with how it ended up in the game. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Here on Smash or Pass, we don't just rate the cars. We don't just run them through the algorithm. I like to talk a little bit about the history behind the cars. And, it's kind of like a opportunity for me to have a little bit of a coffee talk experience with the viewers out there and all of y'all that are watching. We get to have that good dialogue in the comments. So let me know what you think of this car, of course. I'd love to hear it. You're going to get my opinion here shortly, but it's a really cool car. Really excited to talk with you about it. Before I do, though, I just want to say, first of all, if it's your first time on the channel, please do hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. However, if you are a returning viewer and you've been on the channel before, you probably noticed there's a bit of a break there in my uploads. I want to just say thank you for sticking with me throughout that time. I just recently bought a house. I moved. I was living with family temporarily. I had to move out of my flat. My lease expired. Things have been really crazy. And we bought the house. We've been settling in for the last couple of weeks. We got all of the utilities and internet and everything set up. But I got to tell you what, I've never been so busy. I've never been this busy in my entire life. It just seems like there is a never-ending honey-do list of things that need to get done around here. And I think that something I'm going to need to learn how to do is just prioritize and set more time apart for myself, because I literally have not played any Gran Turismo since I moved into the new house. And it's quite tragic because I have like a whole room dedicated towards my gaming, and I literally haven't sat down in the cockpit except for just now. So either way, I just want to say thank you for watching and thank you for sticking with me if you have over the last couple of weeks. We're going to jump right in and talk about this car. It's actually a really cool story. You're seeing the video game version here as I take it through some of the video scapes. But we're going to flip over to the Roadster Shop website where I downloaded a bunch of pictures and I put them through a little slideshow here. You're actually going to see that this car started off, this is a car in real life. Roadster Shop is a shop in Illinois. They have a historic reputation for building hot rods, purpose-built hot rods throughout history, in the United States. And what you're seeing here is basically a slideshow of the various steps that this car went through during the build process. So it's really cool. The car was built for the SEMA Auto Show in 2014. SEMA is the Specialty Equipment Market Association, and SEMA Auto Show has it's been around for decades in the United States. It is a very classic auto show that really was specific for hot rods, but it's obviously branched out a lot since then. And a very cool award that you used to be able to win at SEMA was the Gran Turismo Award. And this award was really cool. You actually could be literally anybody. You could be just a team of friends building a car in a garage in the middle of nowhere. And that car is so cool that you decide to enter it into the competition at SEMA to be judged for a Gran Turismo Award. And if you were chosen, Kaz would basically evaluate the finalists himself. And if Kaz chose your car, then your car would be scanned in and used in a future Gran Turismo video game. And that, folks, is what happened with the 2014 Roadster Shop Rampage. Unfortunately, you can see the timeline ends in 2018, and that is ultimately when Polyphony decided to no longer offer the GT Award at the SEMA Auto Show. And that's really sad and somewhat nostalgic because You know, this is it's symbolic of a fundamental shift away from car culture and towards video game monetization and esports. And I understand why a company needs to focus on esports and monetization in today's gaming environment, but you don't need to do that in lieu of what you were doing before. You can do it both. You know, we could still have the GT Award, we could still be offering it at the SEMA Auto Show, we could still be giving the independents, giving the little guys the opportunity for their work, their art to be showcased on the grand stage. So that's my little mini rant. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know what your thoughts are on that topic, but we're going to go on ahead and shift focus now and focus on the review portion of the video. So jumping right into the value rating. So this car costs 300,000 credits, and if you look at the left here, car type is professionally tuned Gran Turismo Award. So very low cost. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about 300,000 credits, but this car type is, you know, it raises eyebrows because the car is going to have very limited practical usability in the game. And so without this being a Group 3 or Group 4 car, you're basically going to be very limited with what you're able to use the car for in online gameplay. So the car is very inexpensive, but it's not very practical. So overall value score, 6.3 out of 10. Not terrible, not great. Again, it's 300,000 credits, so just purely from a pricing perspective, you know, what do you have to lose? Honestly, what do you have to lose? But let's talk about some of the other more interesting aspects of the car. The performance, quarter mile time, things like that. And before we do, we're actually going to jump in and take a look at customization options. You can see that there's basically none. I'm actually going to pay the shop 500 credits to take my wing off. So I'm not sure if I'm paying for labor there, or maybe I'm paying for them to put a lid, a new trunk lid on my car. I don't know. But that's pretty much the only customization that's available for this car. I'm going to go on ahead and pay 50 credits to get a car wash, even though it's brand new. Haven't driven it yet. If you've ever bought a brand new car, the first thing that you want to do is get it professionally detailed. Chances are it's got some bugs and road tar and things that got caked onto it after getting hauled, open freight across the country. So we're going to give it a car wash and then jump over here and look at the spec sheet. So this is a front engine, rear wheel drive, naturally aspirated engine. The engine model is interesting. It's the LS7 Rampage. So it's funny that they have that distinction, but it's basically a 7-liter V8 custom LS engine, 750 horsepower, 700 pounds of torque, and 3,100 pounds of curb weight. That is pretty heavy, people. 3,100 pounds with 750 horsepower, that's going to give us about a 1:4 or 0.25 power to weight ratio. To put it in perspective, the Nissan GT-R GT500 had a 0.2 or a 1:5 power to weight ratio. We've got a 50-50 quoted front to rear weight balance. That indicates the car should be pretty stable, but if you look at the stability rating, high speed stability is a -1. So we'll have to test that out. -1 is actually as bad as a stability rating as you can get. We've got an 11.8 second quoted quarter mile time. We'll test that out as well, see if we're able to beat it. And this car comes stock with sports medium tires. So that's what we're going to be testing the car with. We don't change any of the parts or tuning or setup on the cars before we start the testing. We test them in their stock form directly from Brand Central. So we are at Special Stage Route X. We're about to start our quarter mile and top speed tests. And as a quick reminder, the quarter mile time that's quoted for this car is 11.8 seconds. So we're going to aim to beat that and then drive straight through to do our top speed test. So that's the 100 meters. We're looking for the 4, that's 200 meters. 300 meters, and then 400. Definitely was under 11.8. We'll go back and watch the replay to see by how much. And now we're going to see what we're able to accomplish for a top speed. So we're at 175, 177, 170, 180, 181. And this car actually tops out at 181. It got to 181 really fast. I'd be willing to bet you'd be able to increase the top speed quite a bit on this car just by putting a racing transmission on and adjusting the gear ratios. Can we just talk about what a savage this driver is right now? I mean, we're doing a quarter mile drag, 750 horsepower car, and he is doing it one-handed. I mean, I know you got to take your hand off the wheel to shift, but get that hand back on the wheel, boy. All right, so we're going to go on ahead and just tick things up a little bit here. And we do the freeze frame, 11.283 as our final quarter mile time. So that's not bad. That's 5 or 6 tenths better than the quoted time on the spec sheet. Now, I will say, I took this car into the mission testing section and I tried to do a drag race there using the stock tires. And when you do drag racing in the mission tests, you're not allowed to use traction control. They disable it. And I was getting walked on by a Honda Civic who was pulling like 12s and 13s. So, you know, that traction control, obviously it's a drag racing hack here in Gran Turismo, but you put this thing into an actual drag race with sports medium tires, and yeah, it gets walked on by Civics. So we're flipping over to Laguna now to round out the performance testing portion of this episode of Smash or Pass. I figured we might as well go to an American circuit to test out this American vehicle. And we are just doing an arcade race here. I think it's on the professional setting. And we're just here to kind of simulate a race and see how this car behaves in a racing environment. I will tell you that my braking points are all messed up because of these sport medium tires. So, you know, don't judge me too harshly, but really just here to get a feel for how this car handles the undulations, how it handles snap oversteer, you know, how it handles going around the track in dirty air. And we are basically just going to go on ahead and test things out here from a stability perspective as we go around to complete these laps at Laguna. And I will tell you, as far as my impressions are concerned, so initially the car is very difficult to drive with the sports medium tires. You'll see that as I go down it's not really a straight, but as I go down the pitch straight here, I lift. And you have to lift right there in this car because that slight undulation, when you are flat out, it'll cause the car to oversteer. But that is as much a byproduct of the sports medium tires as it is of the entire car. Because I put racing hards on the car after this and I went back through and I didn't have that issue at all. So, you know, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, or maybe I was thinking it, I don't know if I actually said it, but I'm actually thinking in the future with any testing that I do of flipping the tires to racing hards first, and that'll be the only piece of tuning or setup that I'll change. So I won't change suspension geometry, I won't add performance parts, it'll still be an apples to apples comparison, but it'll just be more realistic because, let's face it, in this game, is there really any scenario where you're going to keep sports medium tires on this car? I don't think so. And so you'll see that I just completely overshoot my braking point there. Again, I'm blaming the sports mediums. But in reality, even if you're drifting this car, you're going to put the comforts on, right? You're not going to be using the sports mediums. But more likely than not, if you're racing the car, if you're at Le Mans, whatever you're doing with this, you're going to at least put racing hards on, maybe racing mediums or racing softs. But at least if all of the cars are tested with racing hards, it's going to be a more accurate test for you guys too. Just simply because, I don't know, like if I jump in a car with sports mediums, it's going to take me a lot, you know, it's going to take me longer to learn the braking points, to learn how to drive the car around the track. Whereas if I jump into a car with racing hards, especially if it's, you know, a racing inspired car like this car is, the braking points are going to be very similar, I would think, in this car to like a Group 3 car. You might have to brake a little bit earlier just because of the suspension and other, you know, changes or differences. The car's kind of heavy. But either way, the car, you know, it handles pretty good with the racing hards with no other changes. With the sports mediums, it's quite unruly. And you'll see, you know, oversteering around that corner there. Just takes a little bit of getting used to, but honestly, it's a fun car to drive. It's a fun car to kind of learn how to drive and how to feel out. I think it's around like 650 performance points, so definitely an opportunity to up-tune the car for 700 PB races, or possibly down-tune the car for 600 PB races. But either way, that's going to go on ahead and be the end of that, folks. So to wrap things up, from a handling and stability perspective, if you recall on the spec sheet, low speed stability was coded to be not great, high speed stability was coded to be really bad, and I think that those are accurate assessments, honestly. The car has a lot of potential. If you take those sports mediums off and put on some racing hards or racing mediums, this car is going to be a blast to drive, especially if you tune up the suspension a little bit and reduce the weight. You know, honestly, the car has a ton of potential, and even as it sits, you could even put some comfort mediums on this car and take it around Suzuka and probably have a pretty good time drifting it as well. But overall, you know, from a smash or pass perspective, this car is definitely a smash. And, you know, the reason why, honestly, it's 300k credits. The car looks awesome. I personally am going to have hours of enjoyment designing a livery for this car. Can't wait to share that one with the world. And, you know, in addition to that, the vehicle, like I said, it was, you know, one of the last cars to win the Gran Turismo award at the SEMA Auto Show. And, you know, with that, this is a one-of-a-kind vehicle. There's none others like it. It wasn't a production vehicle. It was a hot rod built by the Roadster garage in Illinois, and you have the opportunity to own a piece of that history for the one low price of 300,000 credits. So, you know, for me, I don't know, like, it's worth it. I like it. I like the car. It looks good. It's not bad to drive. It's got potential. Definitely the Roadster Rampage, in my humble opinion, is a smash. If y'all enjoyed the video, please do hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel for more great Gran Turismo 7 content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.